this thing recording or something, I hope. Here's the thing. Oh gosh. I was watching that thing on the television there. Gosh, what's the date today? It's September 6th, 2012. About a gentleman there talking about voter suppression and how the Democrats want to take it back to 1894 or something, and basically saying the Republicans are like racist and they want to suppress the vote. And there was I go through the channels there, and that what the heck channel is that? It's I'm gonna check on it, because what the heck channel is that? It's that what the heck? I don't know what channel it is. It's MSNBC. They have yeah. Okay. Now, grant you, I understand that gentleman from a little bit about racism. Got a little thing wrong with my lung here. Anyway, here's the thing. I lived down south there, in New Orleans, and I know a little something about overseers and slaves, and in my lifetime I've met slaves, and I've eaten with them and worked with them, and they've been my friends. They learned me things, Mr. Charlie, Jesse, you boys up there on the railroad track, you remember me? I think you do. Yeah. You tell me, young man goes with his friend Jesse to the on the racetrack down there. This is 63, 64. Goes to the cafeteria there after working, the horses, cleaning stalls, hot walker, exercise, whatever, It's a running horse, racetrack, running horses. And he goes with his friend Jesse to the cafeteria because he said, boy, let's go get some lunch. So I go to follow him in there, and he says, boy, you got to go to the white side. This is colors only. I'm not going to tell you how I felt. You tell me how I felt. Because there's only one way you know how I felt. And you know what I mean. That's just one instance, Met this gentleman, Mr. Charlie. Well, his name was Charlie. I called him Mr. Charlie because I was a young boy, and everybody older than me was a Mr. or Sir. I started off saying yes sir, no sir, and he said, no, my name's Charlie, you can call me Charlie. And I said, yes, Mr. Charlie. Anyway, he educated me partly, along with Monkey Joe and Big John and a number of folks. I wouldn't be here today because they taught me how to survive in a land and an environment that was detrimental to my health, being a little white boy. Even though I got Indian blood in me, I look white. Okay, yippee-yi-yo. Here's the thing. What bothers me is when you say that the Republicans are racist because they want to suppress the vote, that kind of bothers me. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm an American. And I've been watching these things on TV. Some of these people say they talk loud and they're passionate and all that kind of stuff. And I can understand. No, I can understand the things that they say. Because 1963, 64, when you go to the school and the teacher says, well, what are those in those tar paper shacks over there going to do when that hurricane comes through here and blows them all away? But before that, I was introduced to the class. Now, being that I had moved from California back there to, I was with my mom and my mother and father. The teacher, she introduced me to the rest of the classmates. This is so-and-so, gave my name, and California lover. It's not that I loved California, but nowadays you can't say the word that she said. Now, I don't know if you can understand this. I'm pretty sure there's some folks out there that can understand this, but have you ever sat there and watched a clock and you could just feel the second hand clicking, 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 waiting until that buzzer, you wanted to be away from that place, So even though you're a fast runner, and when they catch you leaving that school, and they beat you, and then you think that you're going to survive because one boy comes up and says, hey, now don't beat him anymore, you'll kill him. We won't have any fun tomorrow. You tell me how I feel. Go ahead, you call me a racist. Now, if I was going to be a racist, I don't know how I'd be a racist, because hatred and bitterness and the dislike of your fellow human being, there's probably some racists out there, and that word you're not allowed to say anymore. Well, I don't know who, I said, this is what I'm thinking. If I'm sitting someplace or I go someplace, I used to, I don't travel too much anymore because, I'm not feeling too good. But here's the thing. When I hear people say things, you can say a word and you can say it a lot of different ways. It's the tone and how you say it. And there's a certain tone how you say this word. And when somebody says it in that tone, now some people say, well, no matter how you say it. No. There's a certain way when it's said. I've heard it before, many years ago. And I sit there and I watch the person and and I'm thinking, you're not only a small-minded, evil, bitter, hate-filled person, but you're ignorant. You listen to them long enough, you'll understand, hey, I'm not the smartest one on the block, but I've been watching this thing down there at the Democratic thing. See, I got that paperwork for the voter registration thing, today. And I had to give them part of my social security number and my driver's license, my 2 addresses, P.O. Box home and all that. And let's see what else I had to give them. My name and a whole bunch of stuff on there. And I'm just curious. Are they trying to suppress my vote by asking me all these things? I'm thinking, you can make up a whole bunch of excuses and you say, well, there's not voter fraud. The Republicans are just racist and they want to keep the blacks, Mexicans, and all the minorities from voting. Well, here's my thought. Why don't you, all these states will give you free license and free ID and all that, because boy, you go to get on an airplane, you got to have an ID. You go to the hospital down here, you got to have an ID. You got to have, no matter what you do nowadays, you got to have ID. My question is, what's wrong with you having an ID to identify yourself? So, I'm the kind of person that's balanced in my thinking. It's like, if it's good for one person, it should be good for everybody. If your thought is the Republicans are racist because they want everybody to have legal ID to be counted. And from what I understand is where they've done that ID thing, to curtail voter fraud. So what you're saying is you shouldn't have any of that, so because there's no voter fraud. Well, and you're suppressing the vote, but wherever they enacted that, the minority vote is up. So what you're saying is you really don't care if there's any voter fraud. And if you can say, well, just because there's a population of 500 in this town and there's 800 registered voters, there can't be any fraud. Well, wait a second now. 500 people live in this town. There's only 500 houses, and there's 800 people voting. Like I said, I'm not the smartest one on the block. Tell me how that works out. I'm just asking questions. Because I know a little bit about racism. I've been around the block. And I've been taught about racism from the best. Slaves, indentured slaves. Oh yeah. They taught this little white boy when he was a young man. They taught me good. How to survive, because, hey, back then, the way I thought and the way I am, I wouldn't have lasted 5 seconds. I wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes. So when you call Republicans or white people racist because they don't want to elect President Obama, or you're saying that they're suppressing the vote, no, they want everybody's vote to count, every legal vote to count. So if that's their premise, they want everybody to vote fair. And your premise is, no, we don't want that because there's no such thing as voter fraud. Well, if this stops voter fraud, and you're saying there's no voter fraud, well, here's the deal. Are you afraid that you can't count 16 dead people in some cemetery someplace and steal my vote? Is that what you want? You want to steal my vote? You don't tell me how hard it was for the black folk or the Mexicans. I know about Mexicans and Indians, how they have it. Mexicans, the Indians, the blacks. Don't the race crap. When you make up stuff and tell lies about people just so you can steal the vote from me, that's not right. And you're saying, well, those folks on that TV, I'm telling you, when you say that being fair and honest and letting somebody know who you are to vote, did you get in that convention center or wherever that place is down there in, was it Carolina or someplace? Did you have to show ID to get in there? Now, if you had to show ID to get in there, why shouldn't you have to show ID to vote? You say voting is the most important thing there is. Well, why wouldn't you have to show ID? Prove who you are. You have to prove who you are to get in there. I think it's fair. I have to show ID every place I go. I don't go many places anymore, but I got to show ID. Who's trying to steal the vote? Tell me. I had to fill out a big form just to register. That's not even to vote. All the information. Gosh, I wondered if they wanted to know how many times I went to the bathroom, which is quite a few every day. I have medical issues, but I'm going to tell you, when I hear you folks up there, you know, I got beat and bloodied and all that. Hey, I have been there too, my friend. And those folks never come back and apologize to me. Now, you're going to say I'm racist, but I'm going to say something to you right now. There's been a lot of hands that helped this old body up. Green tracers flying around me, black hand. Yep. Struggle in different places, brown hand, red hand, lots of different hands, some white hands. When I was a young boy, I used to do a lot of walking. I'm not too much into that anymore because I got some medical problems. But I'm going to tell you something. I met Mr. Charlie on one of my walks, and then I got an allowance, you know, I don't know, 50, 75 cents. Anyway, I was walking, taking a walk, and there was a corner store, and I walked right in. I'm going to get me a soda pop and a Hostess Twinkie or whatever, and you know, I got my allowance. I got a pocket full of money, and I went back there, grabbed me a soda pop and a goodie, and the guy says, "Boy, what are you doing in here?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting me a soda pop and a whatever it was, a goodie." And he said, "Boy, this is a colored store. You can't be in here." And I said, "Well, why? What's a colored store?" He said, "Well, for colored people only." I said, "Well, all I was wanting is a pop and a goodie, you know." He said, "Where are you from, boy?" And I told him, and he said, "Okay, boy." He says, "You get your pop, soda pop, and going out the door." Well, there was a bunch of guys sitting around there on the porches. You know, it looked like an old house. Here's the thing. They were playing music. And this one guy walked up to me and grabbed that bottle of soda pop out of my hand. Pop, soda pop. Anyway, and he took a big swig off of it. And I just handed it back to him. He said, "What's the matter, boy?" He says, "You think I licked it or something?" And I go, no, my sisters used to take my soda pops and act like they said they spit in them and I wouldn't get them and they'd drink them. So I never drink after anybody just because, you know, he says, you think I spit in your soda? I said, I don't know, but I just don't drink after anybody. And he says, hey, come on, get this boy another soda pop. Anyway, there was, you know, they had some musical instruments. They were playing a little music there, you know, and then another guy walked over to me and he says, where are you from, boy? And I was, you know, talking, you know, and telling them and all that, and they were asking me lots of questions and stuff. I can't remember everything. Some of it's probably personal and I shouldn't say, but anyway, I remember the one guy, the second guy walked over to me, you know, asked me something, and I can remember he says, this boy just looks white. And I said, no, I took a bath. I take a bath every day. He says, no, boy. The first guy says, no, boy. When he says you just look white, he says, it's what's inside you. And so as I can remember, I said, well, I got to be going and walking. And that first guy that took the pop away from me and, you know, took the big swig, he said, boy, you come back here, you hear? He says, we know you like listening to this music, because I was liking that music, boy. And that's one of those, I guess some would say, a childhood trauma that if you hear Louisiana music and it's on some front porch, trust me, folks, there ain't nothing better than that. Anyway, so when I got home and I was telling my father and my mother, I said, I met some new people today and they were telling me that I just look white, and that I asked my dad and I told him that the other guy said he's mean, and he said, you just look white, it's what's inside you that counts. And my father laughed. He says, they like you. I said, well, they were real nice to me and everything. And he says, that's all you need to know is they like you. They like you for who you are, what's inside of you, not your color. And I met a lot of people in my lifetime. Monkey Joe. Put me on the path of life. I met so many people that no matter what color they were or what town they were in, there's been blacks that just pure Dean hate white people. But they didn't hate me. And and there's been white folks that hate me because, they just don't like me. And it's not because of their color. It's because they're assholes. And I'm going to say assholes. It has nothing to do with color. And it really bothers me that these folks get up there and they play this racism up and all this other kind of stuff. And golly gee whiz, you talk about all this racism and hatred, and you try and split everybody up, and you want everybody to vote for Obama, and if they don't vote for Obama, they're racist. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not voting for Obama. And it's not because he's black. It's because he's incompetent. And so's that vice president. He's incompetent too. And I want to ask you something. You say this guy up there said the Republican, that NBC channel, whatever the heck it is, they want to suppress the vote. And what's that, Reverend L. Sharpton? I'm disappointed in him. Because the only time he helps somebody is when he gets on TV, and that I know of. And it's always comes out to be some kind of flaky deal, just so he can raise money. The louder you scream, the more money you're trying to raise. Not for some poor soul, but for yourself. Got to buy that $5,000 suit somehow. But anyway, how much, you're going to get up there and say that President Obama helped the black folks. He helps the Mexicans. And he helps all the minorities and the poor folks and all that. Well, who's been in charge for the last 3.5 years? The first 2 years, he had total control over this country. And they say he got 95% of the black vote, and lots of Mexicans and so forth voted for him. And I'm just asking you this. He's a pretty slick talker. But I'm going to tell you something. The black folk I know, the Mexicans I know, they ain't no better off in the last 3.5 years than they were before. Actually, they're worse off. High unemployment rate, on and on and on and on. That's why I'm disappointed. Because he's done nothing that I can see for the blacks, the Mexicans, and, the tidbits. It's kind of like you meet a girl and she goes, well, maybe I'll go out with you. Well, you got to wait, 6 months or something. Maybe I'll go out with you next week. That's just an example, because every time he promises something, it's, well, I'm going to promise you this, or I'm going to do this, and then you get me elected and I'll make everything change. I'll be more flexible. Well, when he sells this country down the road for his political beliefs, and you're sitting there holding the bag, looking like a clipped sheep or an indentured slave, and that's right, an indentured slave. Read up on it. You might not know about it, but the first slaves in America were white. Owned by white people. Being a slave is not just because of your color. Being a slave is how you're treated. Being a slave is being indoctrinated in the schools by people that really don't care about you, but how much money they can make. It saddens me that all the do-gooders out there are going to say all these things and do all these things and everything, and they never do anything, because they always have one thing in common. Blame somebody else. Blame Whitey because of this. Blame this guy because of that. Blame the Indians or the Mexicans. Always blame, blame, blame. You're not listening to what anything goes. You listen to that crap. I made a couple tapes like this, on this movie camera thing here, one of these cameras. But I was sitting here and resting up, and I was thinking, geez, when I heard that man talk like that, grant you, he deserves to talk like that because he suffered. And I've suffered in the same way. But I understand his passion, and I just cannot sit here and say, hey, I see those people sucking that stuff up, and it's not for the right reason. I can't sit here anymore. And you know I'm not going to vote for Obama or that Joe Biden. Because there's many things that they've done to the veterans and the people of this country. And when I say the people of this country, I mean everybody. And when I hear these Democrats lie, and then they go, no, I never said that. And then 2 days later, it comes out and they got them, you can hear them talking on the thing, and they make up lies about the Republicans. And then 2 days later, it comes out, there's a tape of what they're saying. And they just lie, and they get away. You're listening to that stuff. Well, listen to the truth. If you're listening to the lies, try and listen to the truth. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just saying you ought to listen for your own good. This will probably be the only time I can sit in front of this thing because I'm feeling sicker and sicker every day. I've got some problems, but when I was laying there hearing that, you say don't vote for the white man because he's keeping the black man down. Well, I say don't vote for the black man because he's keeping the black man down and the brown man and all other minorities. He's polished and he can say it. He can hustle you in. He can scam you into something. I just hope by the time you realize it, you got something left. Well, usually I put my P.O. box on this thing and let me know something, but the only way I'm going to find out about this thing here is I'll probably wind up dead from one of the overseers. You know what I mean by overseers. I know you do. I've seen them in action. And I feel sorry for them because they're bitter, miserable people, hate-filled. I just had to say what I'm thinking right now, and it bothered me so much. Because all the goodness of all the people that I've met during my lifetime, that have either been my friend or saved my life or taught me things that are from the heart, good things. And that bothered me. Because of all those people, brown, black, whatever color, not one of those people were hateful, were bitter. They were loving, caring, honest, and good-hearted. And most of them took a chance by helping me. They jeopardized their security and health and well-being. So it goes beyond just being a good person. They went overboard, bent over backwards to help me. So don't call this white-looking boy a racist. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I'm not voting for Obama or Joe Biden because they've done nothing for the blacks, the Mexicans, or any minorities. Oh, they're going to say it, and they'll give you a few crumbs. I just can't do this anymore. But anyway, I hope this gets out there. My initial is H. Boyd, B-O-Y-D. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to give you my P.O. box, because you know something? Maybe one of my friends that I met over the years might drop me a line. H. Boyd, P.O. Box 2115, Deer Park, Washington, 99006. I hope you're healthy, wealthy, and wise, and you're still alive. I know you're still alive because I think of you all the time. A man never dies when someone's thinking about him. Okay, I gotta go. Jesus.